Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a major development that's sending shockwaves across global security circles. Ukraine's drone attack that temporarily shut down one of Russia's strategic early warning radar systems. This incident is being talked about everywhere, not only because of the technology involved, but because of the huge implications it may have for the balance of deterrence, regional stability, and the wider conflict. In this video, we're breaking down what happened, why it matters, and what could happen next, all in clear and simple terms. The recent attack involved long-range Ukrainian drones striking a hive, Russian radar installation. This radar wasn't just any ordinary military asset. It was part of Russia's strategic early warning network, the system designed to detect incoming ballistic missiles. These systems are considered essential for national security because they give countries enough time to react in the event of a major attack. When something like this gets disabled or disrupted, even for a short time, it raises enormous questions about vulnerability, response options, and escalation. Reports indicate that the radar shut down for several hours following the strike. Whether the system was physically damaged or temporarily disrupted remains unclear. But what's certain is that Ukraine managed to reach deep into Russian territory again. Over the past year, Ukraine has steadily expanded its drone capabilities, pushing the boundaries of range, accuracy, and stealth. This latest strike shows that Ukraine can target assets Russia once considered safe due to distance and layered air defenses. The radar in question forms part of the early warning chain used to track missile launches from Europe and other directions. When that chain is interrupted, even briefly, it forces the military command to operate with gaps in visibility. These gaps may not directly affect the battlefield inside Ukraine, but they affect Russia's overall sense of security. A country that believes its strategic systems are vulnerable may feel cornered or pressured to respond in ways that escalate tensions beyond conventional boundaries. One of the biggest concerns after this incident is how Moscow views the strike. Russia has previously warned that attacks on its strategic nuclear infrastructure could be interpreted as extremely serious provocations. Even though Ukraine's drones weren't targeting nuclear weapons themselves, the radar system supports the country's nuclear deterrent posture. This creates a gray zone. Ukraine sees the installation as a legitimate military target, while Russia could interpret it as crossing a dangerous line. Ukraine's strategy here is clear: weaken Russia's military and strategic capabilities wherever possible, including deep inside its territory. By striking far off sites, Ukraine undermines Russian confidence and forces it to divert more resources to defend long-range sites. Each time Russia has to reinforce distant regions with air defenses, it reduces the number of air defense systems available on the front lines, giving Ukraine more room for movement in contested areas. At the same time, Ukraine wants to demonstrate to Western allies that its domestically developed long-range drones are now capable of hitting strategic assets without the need for external weapons that partners hesitate to provide. This messaging is aimed at convincing allies that Ukraine can take the fight to Russia, while also justifying more support in the future. The more Ukraine shows it can disrupt high-value targets, the more compelling its case becomes for advanced systems such as long-range missiles or improved drone technology. Another factor worth understanding is that the radar system serves more than just military detection. Strategic early warning radars provide reassurance during times of tension. When they're functioning, military planners feel confident they would detect any major threat. When they're damaged or offline, even for a short time, the uncertainty increases. And uncertainty in geopolitical conflicts is often one of the most dangerous conditions because it can cause reactions based on incomplete or misinterpreted information. Now the major question is, how will Russia respond? So far, the official reaction has been subdued, likely because Russia does not want to publicly acknowledge vulnerabilities in its strategic infrastructure. Acknowledging such weaknesses could undermine confidence at home and signal instability abroad. However, behind the scenes, this kind of strike almost certainly triggers emergency evaluations. Russia will now have to examine how drones manage to slip past layers of defenses, what technical weaknesses exist in the radar system's protection, and how future attacks can be prevented. One likely response is a significant increase in air defense deployments across Russia's interior. This means more anti-drone systems, more patrol aircraft, and more surveillance assets. But this creates its own challenge for Moscow. Russia already struggles to cover its massive territory, and stretching its defenses even thinner makes it harder to protect both the front lines and strategic sites simultaneously. The more Ukraine forces Russia to disperse, the less effective those defenses become overall. There's also the possibility of retaliation. Russia could attempt to strike Ukrainian command centers, drone manufacturing sites, or energy infrastructure in response. Such actions are not new, but this specific strike might be used as justification for escalated campaigns. Ukraine, on the other hand, will likely argue that its actions are purely defensive and designed to undermine Russia's ability to wage war, not escalate the conflict. This disagreement in interpretations is why each strike carries so much geopolitical weight. Another issue is how other countries respond to this development. NATO members are watching closely because the attack highlights how rapidly drone warfare is evolving. Many nations rely on large, fixed radar installations for early warning, and seeing one temporarily shut down raises concerns about their own vulnerabilities. This incident feeds into a growing global debate on the future of defense systems, especially as drones become cheaper, longer-ranged, and more capable. For Ukraine, the success of this attack also sends a message to its domestic audience. It shows that despite Russian advances on certain fronts, Ukraine still has the ability to hit deep into enemy territory and challenge vital military infrastructure. Morale is an essential part of wartime resilience, and strategic strikes like this help maintain a narrative of strength, adaptation, and technological progress. As for the radar system itself, analysts believe repairs may already be underway, but the bigger story isn't about how fast it gets restored. The real issue is that it was hit at all. It shows that strategic early warning systems, long thought to be beyond the reach of a smaller nation at war, are now possible targets thanks to advancements in unmanned technology. This has implications that go far beyond the current conflict and may influence military planning for years to come. There's also a symbolic element here. Strategic radars were once considered untouchable and protected by geography alone. Now Ukraine has demonstrated that distance is no longer a barrier. This shift changes the mindset of military planners everywhere. It forces nations to rethink how they defend critical assets and whether traditional models of security are still reliable in the drone era. Looking ahead, the most important question remains what happens now. Ukraine will likely continue its long-range drone campaign targeting infrastructure that supports Russia's military operations. These could include airbases, logistics centers, energy hubs, or radar installations like the one recently hit. The more successful these strikes are, the more they pressure Russia to adapt, stretch its resources, and reconsider its battlefield strategy. Russia, meanwhile, has to make difficult choices. It can attempt to harden its defenses significantly, but that requires time, technology, and manpower. It can escalate its bombardments in Ukraine, but this risks further international backlash. It can attempt to negotiate from a position of perceived weakness, but that contradicts Russia's political narrative. None of these options are comfortable or simple. Internationally, this strike will fuel conversations about the security of nuclear-related assets and whether new stability measures are needed in a world where small drones can threaten large infrastructure. Some experts argue that incidents like this raise the risk of misinterpretation during crises. Others believe they force nations to modernize and adapt, strengthening long-term stability. What's clear is that the world must now consider a new set of risks that didn't exist just a decade ago. This event also hints at the broader future of warfare. Drones, especially long-range autonomous ones, are becoming strategic tools rather than just tactical battlefield assets. They offer countries with smaller militaries a way to punch far above their weight and challenge even the most heavily defended systems. We're seeing the early stages of a new era where warfare is reshaped by distribution, decentralization, and cost-effective precision systems. For Ukraine, these developments may help level the playing field. For Russia, they present a persistent and unpredictable threat. For the world, they signal that traditional assumptions about military superiority are quickly being rewritten. As we move forward, more attacks like this may occur, each carrying its own risks and consequences. The key question is whether these actions lead to escalation or pressure both sides toward new strategies and possible negotiations. Neither outcome is guaranteed, and each new development will shape the conflict in unexpected ways. What's certain is that Ukraine's drone strike on Russia's strategic radar is far more than a single event. It represents a turning point in technology, strategy, and geopolitical signaling. It shows that even the most fortified systems can be touched, that long-range precision is no longer an exclusive capability of major powers, and that the conflict is evolving into a phase where unpredictability becomes one of the most defining elements. As always, we'll continue monitoring the situation closely and bringing you updates as new information emerges. The events unfolding now will influence military planning, global security, and political decision-making for years to come. Thank you for watching, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next video.